So anyways, that's the introduction. Now we want to get to our panelists, and we're going to start off with Jacey Paik, and I'll let her introduce herself more thoroughly. But she's going to talk about family offices, a very important part of our investable world that people are probably not quite as familiar with as angel investors and venture capital. So, Jacey, I turn the floor over to you.
And I shall share my screen. Can you let me know if you see the right page?
Perfect. Yeah,
Great, thank you. Thank you, John, and thank you, Founders Institute, for letting me share my 2 cents on family offices. You mentioned ecosystem. The family office is one of the most, I think, popular and growing investor pool within the investment ecosystem today. Probably in the recent 5 years, you've heard it come out a lot more, publications, media, conferences, any kind of investor related kind of meetings and whatnot. You would see family offices present, or at least the word being mentioned or present, right? But as I talk to people on a day-to-day basis, I find that not many actually have um, a grasp of what a family office is, how family offices invest, kind of what the organizational structure is, who are they working for, right? And also, more importantly, how do I get in touch with them? I think these are kind of the main questions we have around family offices. Um, so I just wanted to, some of this information may be very basic for you, but I just thought it'd be important to just go through the basics of a family office. And then we will also go into a very short slide as to where the kind of investment trends and appetite have been recently. This is obviously not a be all end all slide. These are my opinion incorporated by data that I've collected recently. So um, just bear that in mind. And let me move on. Angel investor, I think most of us are more familiar with. Well-off individual investing their own money into a startup venture, right? On the side, venture capital, we know that as well. Business professionals usually investing money, other people's money, on behalf of a company. And then there's private equities as well as we get bigger into that investor pool. But in the middle sits family offices. So what is a family office? Just put it in very simple terms. It's a centralized office, typically privately held, family controlled, to one or more wealthy families. We're going to go into single and multi-family offices, not in too much depth, but there are different kind of faces of family offices or different types of family offices. But basically, they're a centralized office controlled by families to give financial advisory services, investment kind of advisory services as well, different types of a range of financial services to one or a group of family offices. So that's just put in very simple terms. And that's the difference between an angel investor, who's an individual putting in their own money, a venture capital, who is a business, it's a company that's investing on behalf of shareholders, where a family office is a family. It's an investment vehicle that represents the family or a couple of families. Just to be very basic, these days, with the advancement of technology, with the need for different services, maybe a need to share resources or kind of reduce costs, there are many different forms of family offices that have sprung up. But traditionally, and what we know best are the two highlighted here are multi-family offices and single family offices. And as the name suggests, a single family office represents one family and the needs of that family, where a multi-family office will be providing services on behalf of a couple of families, or not a couple, but several families. There are other terms that are springing up, not too important, but there are now virtual family offices where you may not necessarily have an office. The family office may not have an office, it's virtual. The services are provided more virtually as well. And resources are shared. Micro family offices, just a much smaller scale of family and their investment size, but also another kind of subcategory of family offices that have actually recently come out a lot more. And we are seeing this trend to continue. You'll see a lot more of these virtual family offices and micro family offices spring up as well, alongside the growth of multi and single family offices. There are the ones that are coming out, outsourced family offices, where you obviously outsource certain services to a third party. Embedded ones are family offices within a larger institution, like a private, like a bank, where you can enjoy the banking services or the institutional services of a parent holding company while still um, having the interest of your family office business taken care of. So very different forms that have been coming up. What we know more and what are more relevant to us today, I think, are single family offices and multi-family offices, just because it's easier to meet with them and see them. And also, um, they are much more present in these conferences and much more present in around us. One key, actually, before I go into that part, I just wanted to kind of highlight one or two key differences between, I get these questions a lot. So what are the pros and cons, or should I go to a VC or should I pitch to a VC versus a family office? Kind of what are the pros and cons of those? I think one can list many pros and cons depending on who you are, depending on who you work with more. But just on a very, neither one is better or worse. They actually complement each other within this ecosystem of investors. Um, one has advantages and disadvantages that others don't have. But just generally speaking, right? Typically and generally speaking, for family offices, there's less layers to the decision making kind of hierarchy. So the decision making process may be faster. They also have greater control of the investment because you are not in the interest of many shareholders like other companies, VCs and PEs might be. Um, one other thing that many family offices mention, one other factor that's quite important that many family offices do mention, is that they have a much longer view. They have a much longer view in terms of their investment. It's much closer to them. It's personal. It's not just about the financials and the returns or sector trends or, kind of the cycle of investment, but it's very close to them, right? Close to them, close to their passion, close to what their traditional business is, close to what their interests are. Um, and so these kind of industry trends, let's say healthcare may be down, AI might be up, it's metaverse and Web3 now, but education sector has been a bit quiet. It's much more resilient to these industry trends because they have a much longer view that's beyond what's happening right now to the economy. So that's a great kind of value and a great, how do you say it, a great factor um, when it comes to family office versus venture capital. But VCs then have a larger appetite, may have a larger fund, so they can invest in a lot more. Um, just different kind of pros and cons. Sustainability recently and impact investment have been very big drivers for family offices than VCs. Again, neither one is better or worse. Um, but just a few things. I think it's also good to approach both sides if you have the opportunity, both family office and both venture capitals. I don't think anyone should be kind of siding with one or the other. I think it's good to, if you have the opportunity to pitch and to expose yourself to as many type of investors as possible that fit within your kind of fundraising profile. Just moving on to this, and uh, as much I understand that as much it is hard to I guess find and detect these family offices because not all of their information are public, except for the very large multi-family office and the more obvious family offices that are part of a larger corporation or multinational corporation. Um, they say there's 2,700 single family offices in Hong Kong. And I think in Singapore, that number is about 1,400 family offices. So your pool of investors is very large. It is an extremely large pool of investors. That means you are not just limited to, just a certain pool of people, but you have that much potential to expose yourself and to gain kind of investment. And it is growing. It is growing. Hong Kong and the government are very ambitious and also very supportive of further developing Hong Kong into the family office hub. You have equal amount of competition in Singapore. So this family office pool of investors is only going to grow, which makes it better for kind of early stage, um, kind of more Series A and pre-Series A startup companies. A very large pool you can tap into basically, and a lot of capital. And just this emergence and evolution of family offices, it's been extraordinary, and it is going to continue to grow in unprecedented scale, is what all of the analytics are telling us. Um, just the kind of amount of wealth transfer, kind of ownership structures, rise of kind of impact investment, integration of technology, all of these factors are coming into place and helping this investor pool grow. So lots of potential of investors out there, and lots of capital to tap into actually. Um, this last slide, the colors and the size of the bubble do not mean anything. I was just trying to make it more interesting for us looking at this today, this evening. But these are the sectors through just a couple of publications. So again, if your sector is not mentioned here, it is probably within the larger set of these topics, but this is only based on just a couple of publications that I happen to hold on to. So again, it is not the entire universe that the family office invests into, but I think it covers quite a lot that we know actually today, that the family offices are highly interested in, are investing into. Mostly have been statistics say biopharma, blockchain, metaverse, robotics, and healthcare have been areas that the family office, through surveys, have said that they are currently invested in more than 40% of their allocation. Areas that are going to continue to grow in terms of exposure of allocation will be, again, artificial intelligence, biopharma, healthcare, um, fintech. So and again, this is not to show you where the money is going in right now and where it is going to go in the future. It is an extremely diverse appetite. Family offices have an extremely diverse appetite, and also much more diverse in their portfolio. And as I mentioned earlier, they do have a much longer, uh, they do have a much longer, how do you say it, longer view of their investment. So it's not cyclical, it's not just based on trends. They do have a much longer view. So if you see on the media and publications that these are the hot sectors, these are where the money is being allocated, might be slow this year, it might be hot next year. I don't think you should mind that when you are approaching a family office, different to private equity and venture capitalists. Obviously, they have a mandate by their shareholders that they need to fulfill, and they have a timeline of investment and exits that they need to fulfill as well. But when it comes to family offices, kind of those criteria don't really come into play as much. It's not as relevant. It really depends on how close they are, how much they believe in the founder, how much they believe in your growth story, um, and the company itself when they invest. So don't be too kind of boggled down on what trends tell you. It's just, I think, uh, you know, stick to your mandate, stick to your vision, and stick to your mission and your goal, and stay true to that. And make sure it's, your program and your content is developed properly, and don't be too tied down into trends, because I do get that these days. I do have early stage founders come up to me and say, look, it looks like this sector is a little down, but I am right in the spot of this sector. Should I be kind of diversifying my product line into areas where they say it will be hotter? And I say no, then you're, diverting from your original mission, right? I think what is important is, and I do truly value the program that Founder Institute provides, because that puts you into the right trajectory, ignoring these kind of trends. These trends, it puts you in the right trajectory, and it puts you in the right mindset, and it puts you in the right, how do you say it? It puts you in the right path, and making sure that you are becoming that fundable, or you are actually a verified fundable company when you approach the investors, whether it's a venture capitalist or an angel investor or a family office. I find it to be essential, these programs, and I don't see it actually with all accelerators, right? Or all of these kind of community-based associations around the world. I think it's very unique to Founders Institute, and I find it to be highly valuable, because the lack of information, I think, is both ways. For early stage not even early stage, for any company, it's very hard to find information on family offices. And I hear that commonly. But it's the other way around as well. It's very hard for investors to find information always on good companies. And that's why we found the program and the partnership with Founder Institute to be extremely valuable, because then it already, and not one of us, and not all of us have the capacity to vet these companies as well. We are not AI experts. We are not Web3 experts. So as an investor, and again, on the family office side, we get that question as well. And we do see it within the family office, even in the investment team. They are not experts in these industries, right? They are an employee hired by the family office, maybe, maybe more fluent with certain industries that they have experience in, but certainly not in all the industries they are interested in investing in. And that's why these partnerships with Founder Institute is, highly resourceful, because it's give us the opportunity to get information in good companies, investable companies, and make it easier for us, for my job, actually, for my job within the Association of Family Offices, then to connect um, early stage companies and founders to the right family office or to the right pool of investors. Um, that kind of segues into my role. I am sitting as the executive vice chair of the Association of Family Offices, which, we do many things. One of the key focus areas that I have actually is to help early stage companies connect to the right family office profile. And there are a couple of ways we facilitate that. One is through private meetings. Sometimes it will come at a cost. Another forum or another platform we provide is our annual conference. It's a 5-day conference we hold every January, where we will invite um, these founders and early stage companies to pitch and to share your ideas and your business with the family office crowd sitting in front of you, and be able to engage them and see, pitch and engage basically, and share your ideas with the family office investors directly. There's a couple of ways, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Warren, it's your words. In order to gain, for marketing, the best way of marketing is just network, network, and network. I don't think there can be enough networking, and just meeting a lot of people, pitching your ideas, and also pitching your business is the best way to gain exposure. But make sure, I think the most important thing is to go through these kind of programs, these, vetted programs that's been going on for many, many, many years, through thousands of companies, just to make sure that you have a good grasp and a better understanding of where you stand with your potential investors. You might think it's a great idea, it's a great business, but without going through these kind of programs, then I don't think you can have a full kind of scientific understanding of kind of where you stand, not as a business and as a product and technicalities, but with your investors. That
Okay,
is all from
thank
my
you for that.
side, John. And of
Thank you
course,
for
happy to
that.
answer any questions through LinkedIn or through, through the chat that we have.
I think this is a very important presentation because, as JC said at the beginning, I don't think in general people and founders are as aware of the family office industry as they are of venture capital and angel investors. And I think it's particularly true. There's family offices all around the world, but certainly in Asia, with a focus on Hong Kong and Singapore, there's a real emphasis in trying to grow that business. So I think family offices will be an increasingly important part of the investment universe in Asia going forward. So this is something people in this part of the world should know about.